May I have your attention?
Hi, I'm Greg Inda. Today I sit down with Josephine Shaker to talk about her act, Emergency.
May I have your attention? May I have your attention?
Josephine Shaker, thank you for sitting down with me. How did you get started in burlesque?
Burlesque has always been an adventure, really, and that's how I came to be. I started just dancing. I'm from Ohio originally. So our tri-state area, we would get together, we would have these balls, we would do these dances the way that they were done whenever they came from. Viennese waltzes, tangos, salsas, whatever. Renaissance Festival became ballroom dance, became the ballroom dance group where we would go to balls, became us working into a French can-can themed dance troupe. The troupe was booked for a show in Minnesota where I met a bunch of other burlesque performers.
Okay.
That's how burlesque happened to me. Before that, I thought it was just like an old-timey thing that nobody did anymore.
Do you have any specific influences? Any people that really have impacted who you are as a performer?
Absolutely. I think over the years, there have been some people that I've met on the road that have really kind of changed the way I see things. And then there are always those people that I read about just back in the very beginning, doing my homework, getting into the community. I really wanted to see shows everywhere and get to know the performers in the area, and then also learn about, Beehoff and all the people who'd been going there in all the years before I knew that burlesque was still happening, even back to the days of the farm. I wanted to do all that history and research, and I really loved hearing about people being able to get back together and talk about what we used to have, and like the Minsky's days and the Harlem Shake days and all that stuff. But I really, in the current, love to watch videos of my peers. I love one particular video of Bella Blues. It shakes me every single time. I've heard the Indy 500 that they do.
Okay.
She does, it's her Crazy in Love act, shakes me every single time.
Okay.
She's wearing literally nothing and has like a teeny boa, and is just, it's about the presence, She commands an entire stage with absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah.
One of our good friends in Nashville, Katana Louise, always absolutely pushes me to a place. I love to watch videos of her performing, just singing, dancing. She's magnetic, and it really, really is encouraging to me to see a woman of color taking that to a stage and taking her power from an audience and showing them that, she should be the center of all the attention, and she really, truly is. And I love to watch her do that. One of our old school legends that I've always been incredibly impressed by would probably be Alada Boutte. She's been all over the place doing really, really incredible stuff.
Talk a little bit about your role in the Juke Joint.
Well, we've been going strong now. We'll be rolling into our 8th year in March. The team of us try to just build a space where Black people get to come out and say we're part of this community too, and we are also here sharing the space, sharing the stages.
What's the difference between like a Juke Joint crowd and the show itself? How does that feel versus shows where like you're the only woman of color there?
It is an entirely different experience. There's not really an emotion that can fully explain what it's like to look out into a crowd and see 200 people who look like you, 300 people who look like you. Because for us, that's not an experience you get to have ever. It's really, I don't want to say a novelty, but it is such a rare experience to be able to see a crowd and have it be your crowd, and to have it be your people, and to have it be people who can really connect with your work in a cultural way that maybe audiences haven't been able to connect with. I think for a long time, being in burlesque has been about the story I want to tell, or the thing I want to wear, or the prop I want to play with. It's always been about me taking space and me putting on a show, and the audience being a part of that but not being in the driver's seat. But I think especially as things have developed with the Juke Joint, and the more we're trying to grow what that show can be, I think it's really important to make a little space for that in my work. And lately I've been working on making sure that I'm using Black performers in my music, and making sure that I'm taking into account, if it's a historical act, what sort of African elements I can bring into my work to let people know, even just from if they see a picture of me loose on the internet somewhere,
Yeah.
that there's a way to bring my heritage into my work and onto the stage in the same way that other people do. Something that we hear a lot at the Juke Joint as well. People will bring their friends who have never seen burlesque at all, or who have never been to a black burlesque show, who will then tell us at the end of the night how important it was for them to see us, to know that we're here.
Do you feel that when you are a solo black performer in an all-white cast, do you find that that's, let's see.
Like every day of my life? Because
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Every day. Most shows. Most of them. Being the token is a part of the black performer experience. And it's something that, you know, I guess being a part of the Juke Joint is to help counteract, you know?
There was a vertical sideshow that you were in, and I remember photographing you and that being part of my inspiration for that artistic statement.
Oh, Greg.
And then finding out that you were like terrified during that act.
Oh my God, it was the worst. Oh, so terrible. That was a really, okay, I lied. That was the hardest act I've ever put together. It was impossible. I couldn't do it. Nothing was right. My prop wasn't working. My costume was frustrating. There were so many layers of me being unhappy with the work. But deadlines are deadlines. And when you're creating an act for a show, the show has to happen.
Yeah.
So the night came and I put on my costume and I did the show. And I think that I did feel really good when I got off the stage. None of us are perfect 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Being willing to accept your failures, I think, is part of just growing as a performer.
What is Josephine Shaker to you?
Everything. She's everything. She's me. There's
no separation.
There's not like a Josephine shoot. I'm just taking off my Josephine pants and I'm going to start being that other hoe. Like, that's not how life works. I'm not just going to be able to take off the parts of myself you see on a stage, especially being one of the not terribly many black performers in the city. When you're in a burlesque space, people tend to know at least that you're a black performer, even if they constantly call me other people's names.
Tell our viewers a little bit about your act Emergency. What is it?
So this act in particular is about a steampunky party girl having a good time, just out there in the club being a spectacle.
Are you a member of like a steampunk community as well? Is that something you do?
I don't really do subculture communities. I often find they have race issues.
Okay.
There are a lot of sub communities, I guess you would say, where people of color who have interests in all of those things will get together and talk about it online. And I have definitely made some friends where we'll talk about trying to go to a steampunk outing or a goth night at a bar and feeling discomfort or being treated poorly or really not engaging well with those communities, but you still really love the fashion or the style or the basis for that community. So that was what part of creating Emergency was about for me, was going out there and not just making an act where the feel of the act is about being the center of attention, but where specifically I've built a costume that is just layers and layers of gaudiness so that you have to look at me being black in your sub-community. You know, there's just so much beauty in what some people would see as tackiness. And there's something about steampunk and like the whole Rococo era that really just speaks to my heart, with just layers and layers of pearls and lace and stones and jewelry and hair with the flowers.
You mentioned that you built most of your Emergency costume yourself. So tell me a little bit about the different pieces.
Well, I've been sewing since I was a kid, so pretty much everything is made from scratch. So I made the shrug and then added to it all those pieces of lace, and then I was purposefully picking out fabrics that had embroideries and the different patterns to them just to hit all the kind of necessary cues. It was really complicated actually to put each little detail together, but that's something I really enjoy about steampunk fashion as a whole. I definitely ended up having to source some stuff online because I couldn't find what I wanted in stores for like the little delicate chains on the skirt. There's the top hat, a pretty much standard steampunk staple, as well as the goggles. I went ahead and made mine. I found, a really common Pinterest DIY sort of thing I think a lot of people follow, where you buy some cheap goggles and then you jazz them up. My favorite piece are the knickers because they are assless. This character, the costume itself has definitely become like a piece unto its own outside of the act itself. I wear it for a lot of ambiance gigs, photo shoots. It's a pretty popular look for me, so I've had to revise it a few times. It'll definitely go through another round or two of rhinestoning before it's done.
What led you to pick the song that you did for the act, Emergency?
Homework.
And who's the artist?
The artist is Icona Pop. And for me, Emergency specifically was just a kind of electro swing light that I'd run across just listening to new music, and it kind of stuck in my head, and I really wasn't, like I said, not a huge fan of the band, and so I wasn't really interested in it, and then ended up running across a remix and was like, wait a minute, this song has potential. And then ended up running across many, many other versions until the one I actually use. What
is your intent with the piece? Do you have a takeaway that you hope the audience has with this act, or is this just I'm steampunk, I'm in the club, and take from that what you will?
Ultimately, I want them to feel like they want to come hang out with me. Like, that's really what the act is about making them feel super engaged in not just me and my performance, but in the show at large. It's always something I like to bring for producers to kind of put earlier into sets, because there's definitely a high level of engagement.
If somebody would like to book you, how should they find you on the internet and communicate?
Well, I am all the internet places that matter. It's Josephine Shaker. I look like me. Commonly mistaken for all the other black people that you know, but I do know them. You should email me at jshaker.inc@gmail.com or go to my website, thejosephineshaker.com. Yes, and also find me on the Twitter and the Instagram and the Facebook.
Okay, and if somebody wants to contact you regarding Jeezy's Juke Joint, how should they reach out to you?
They would just email me or go to jeezysjukejoint.com or hit us up on Patreon, where you can support us all of the time, which you should, because we're incredible. We also have merchandise available. You can get coasters with prints of Cruel Valentine's vagina on them. You can get tote bags with cartoons of our butts. We're really branching out these days in the merchandise. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in.